Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Monotui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm very excited to bring you guys Week 1 of the GBA Season 7 versus CrimsonCbad, coach of the Detroit Steel Wings. If you have not done so already, please check him out in the description below. He is a great guy. He's partnered on Twitch. He's partnered by a few other people. He is a great content creator. I highly recommend checking him out if you have not already. I believe he streams on Twitch a little bit more actively than he uploads on YouTube, but he uploads very commonly on YouTube as well, so definitely check both of the links out in the description below of him. Also, a very big thank you to two people. One is Beth, aka Sandwiches, who made the initial layout that I was using for the GBA last season, and also thank you very much to the Flying Bird, who offered to touch up the layout a little bit for Season 7. So thank you to both of them, great people. Their links will be in the description below as well. But getting into the game, as you can see, my opponent Chase brought his Cabalion, Tornadus Therian, Crocodile, Magneton, Serena, and Kyurem, so a couple things that aren't here that I was really expecting. No Entei, which is really nice. That's pretty much the biggest one, Entei not being there. Slowking is also not there, which is also very nice. Understandable, because I have things like Mantine, Jirachi, Greninja that can all kind of beat him, even Buzzwole as well, even Alolan Golem. That's very nice to see. For a quick rundown of my team, even though I do have an entire team builder dedicated to it, we have our lead Stealth Rocking Alolan Golem, we have our specially defensive Mantine, we have our Life Orb Greninja, we have our speedy but also bulky sub T-Waving Jirachi with HP Ground to catch the Magneton as well as the Cabalion, we have a Choice Scarf Buzzwole, and we have our specially defensive but also very speedy Zygarde. So looking at his team, the one thing that I noticed immediately is that Buzzwole absolutely destroys him. The combination of Superpower, Leech Life, and Stone Edge OHKOs the entirety of his team, bar possibly a Tornadus Therian, or like a Choppleberry Cabalion, or something with a Choppleberry. Because otherwise, I OHKO literally everything on his team. Obviously, of course, he could have Scarfers that can outspeed me, also because I am Scarfed, I will only be able to lock myself into one move. But as soon as I get rid of the Tornadus, Superpower looks like it's going to be able to a KO pretty much everything on his team. Like, assuming he doesn't have any Choppleberries, Superpower will OHKO the Cabalion, the Crocodile, the Magneton, and the Kyurem. So that is 100% my biggest win condition. Aside from that, Greninja is looking pretty nice as well, being able to hit things with Dark Pulse plus Hydro Pump. Jirachi looks like it's going to be able to put in a lot of work, and Zygarde as well, if I do things correctly, will be able to also possibly set up and be able to sweep through his team, because he does not have a lot that immediately threatens it other than the Kyurem. Also, especially defensive Mantine looks like it's going to be able to put in a lot of work as well, as it's going to be able to hard stop the Cabalion, the Tornti, as well as the Kyurem, as well as possibly the Crocodile, as well as the Serena, depending on the sets that they are. So with that being said, let's get right into the game. I am going to actually end up leading with my Alolan Golem, like I said I would in my team builder, just basically there to get up rocks. It doesn't have the best offensive matchup this game, but it is going to be very useful in being able to get up rocks, and unless this Serena has Rapid Spin, I'll be able to keep them up. So he's going to lead with his Cabalion. He's going to go right for the close combat. I do have the Choppleberry to take that, so I will be able to take that relatively well, and then get up my Stealth Rock, which is very nice. I was debating going for Earthquake there, but I didn't want him to go for a Magnet Rise or something along those lines, so I am just going to get my Stealth Rock, like I said, up. Or I'm going to get my Stealth Rock up. Like I said earlier, that's the main reason that Alolan Golem is here. But in order to save this thing as fodder later on, or possibly as an offensive threat later on, I'm going to switch out into my Buzzwole on what I expect to be a close combat, as it is what he goes for, and I'm able to tank that very easily. I know he could possibly be Choppleberry, but I don't think he would be. I think he'd be Shokaberry more than anything else. So I'm just going to fire off with Superpower here, as nothing will really appreciate it, as he sends in his Tornadus Therian. And after Rocks damage, this Superpower actually looks like it might be a 2 KO. I'm not going to risk it though. Again, like I said, my Buzzwole is the biggest win condition on my team right now. I don't want to risk him being randomly Scarfed. I don't want to miss getting a low roll, or don't want to risk getting a low roll and not being able to kill him. So I'm just going to go right out into my Mantine, as he is going to pull a double out into his Serena, which worked out for him for sure, but at least with the Tornadus that low, he's not going to be able to switch into my Buzzwole Superpower anymore. Even after the attack drop, I'll be able to 2 KO him. However, I can't really stay in here because I can't do much to this Serena, and I don't want him going for like a U-turn and gaining in, well, I mean, he'd get initiative with U-turn anyway, but I don't want him going for like a Toxic or anything like that, so I'm just going to go out into my Jirachi, as he gets up actually a Reflect, which I thought was very interesting, because for one, I didn't really know Serena got screens before this game, which is very interesting, and also, I'm curious as to what he's going to do. He actually got a Light Screen up first turn, and then he's going to go for Reflect. My bad. Also, he's not Light Clay. As you can see, he's leftover, so these screens are only going to be here for 5 turns. However, they are actually kind of annoying to deal with, because I'm not going to be able to deal a lot of damage to his team. He's going to hard switch out into his Crocodile here, He's going to take the rocks damage, and then he's going to take the incoming Iron Head coming from my Jirachi, and he's going to take it very well, because Crocodile has good natural bulk, I'm uninvested in attack, and of course the Reflect is up. However, what I can do now is click Iron Head a couple times to try and flinch him down, to get a little bit of damage off onto him, as well as stall out the screens. However, on the first Iron Head, I'm not going to be able to get that flinch, and he is going to break my sub with the knockoff. So, a little unfortunate for me. I would have really liked to flinch this thing down, but of course that is asking for Hex, which technically Jirachi does. Technically I'm going to be doing with Jirachi a lot, but regardless, I didn't get it. That's fair enough. Here I'm just going to stack off my Alolan Golem here. I could, he's going to go for the knockoff on the first turn, and I could switch out into my Buzzwole and save Golem for fodder later on the predicted Earthquake, but I didn't want to risk him going for the double knockoff, because I really need my Choice Scarf on my Buzzwole this game. Like, I really need it to outspeed a non-Scarf Kyurem. I need it to outspeed the Buzzwole. And it's just very important that I keep that intact. Also, you're going to see there he got the Moxie boost. He didn't show Intimidate earlier, so I figured he was Moxie, and there he confirms it. But what I can actually do now with my Buzzwole is go for Superpower and get what I think is going to be a 2 KO off onto something, as he's going to send out his Serena. But as you're going to see, this Superpower is really not going to do enough damage for me to be able to 2 KO him. I'm not sure if he was fully physically defensive, or if he had like a lot of physical defense on his Serena, but that takes that way better than I thought it would. And here I'm actually going to end up switching out, because even though I can take a player off, I don't want to take a player off, and I don't want to risk him going for like a Synthesis or something like that, and I just waste my time and waste my Superpower. So I'm going to go back out into my Jirachi as he goes for the Reflect, and what I can do here is just go for another sub. It's relatively free. There's not too much he can do to stop it. Like, even if he has U-turn or Trop Kick, it's not going to break my sub, and I do outspeed the Serena, so I'm not going to get the attack drop from the Trop Kick if he decides to go for that. However, he's actually going to go for the Rapid Spin, which I knew Serena could do, but I didn't actually think he had it, because he revealed dual screens, and I expected U-turn and Trop Kick. And plus he was prioritizing going for screens over going for Rapid Spin, but that's definitely going to work out for him, because he's going to be able to get rid of my hazards, and I have no way to set them back up, so that really kind of sucks for me. However, I still have a Jirachi behind a sub, which is always a scary thing, so he's going to switch out into his Crook on the Iron Head. Still going to take it relatively well, but like I said, I just want to keep clicking Iron Head because I'm behind a sub, I have no reason not to, and if I get a couple flinches, I'll be able to get some nice damage off onto him, and I'll be able to stall out those screens. So as you're going to see here, the first Iron Head is going to get the flinch off onto him, which is very nice, because with that flinch, if I get one more flinch onto him, I will be able to 2 KO him, and I can possibly end up in the situation still behind my sub. However, he's going to make the smart play. He's going to go out into his Cobalion to take the Iron Head, which he will absolutely do, because Cabalion's very bulky, it resists, and the Reflect is still up. However, what I can actually do on this turn is, and now the Reflect ends, what I can do on this turn is actually go for the Hidden Power Ground, as he's going to hit me with a Close Combat, because after a Close Combat Split F drop, I believe Hidden Power Ground has a chance to 2 KO him if he's not Shuka-Berry. However, he is going to have the Shuka-Berry, very good prep on his part, as this HP Ground's not going to do enough to 2 KO him. Even on the next turn, I'm not going to be able to knock him out unless he goes for another Close Combat, and I still might be wrong about that. But regardless, I'm going to go for it anyway because I want to get a lot of damage off onto this Cobalion. It's still very annoying. It's a very annoying mon for me to deal with. But he's going to make the smart play, go out into his Tornadus. However, because I have a lot of bulk investment, I have a lot of HP and some Spit F, this Heat Wave's not going to be able to 2 KO me, and I'm going to be able to get off a Thunder Wave onto this Torn, which now means that even if he was randomly Scarfed, which I don't think it is, my Buzzwole will be able to outspeed it, and what's very nice is that everything on my team will be able to outspeed it, including my Greninja. So assuming he has no other Scarfers, Greninja outspeeds everything. In comes the Cobalion once again, as I'm just going to go for the Iron Head, trying to flinch him down a little bit, as well as possibly get rid of the Tornadus. However, he's smarter than that, going to go out and do his Cobalion, and then he's going to make another very good play and actually end up going for the Swords Dance. And I make a little bit of a misplay, and I'll explain this at the end of the game. I go for Hidden Power Ground here, instead of going for the Thunder Wave, which isn't the biggest deal in the world, but I wanted to get some damage off onto this thing, didn't want to risk him being sub. And then here I could have gone back out into my Buzzwole, but I didn't want him to predict that and go for a possible Aerial Ace. I wasn't sure if he had it, I really wasn't sure on what he had. He might have had Aerial Ace, and that would have been very scary for me. And I didn't want to risk possibly losing the biggest threat to his team. But regardless, I'm going to go into my Greninja, threaten him out with the Dark Pulse, as he is actually going to go out into his Torn, which I'm very okay with, because if he sacks this off, my Buzzwole is in a great position. And as you're going to see here, he's going to let me hit him with the Ice Beam, and he's going to allow me to knock out his Tornadus, which I am very, very okay with, because that was the biggest stop to my Buzzwole, and it is now gone. I can freely spam Superpower and pick up a 2 KO on everything on his team, or an Oko on everything on his team. So he's going to send out his Magnezone, or his Magneton rather. I don't want him being scarfed and outspeeding me, so I'm just going to go out into my switch into this thing being the Zygarde, and he's going to go for the Volt Switch, and I'm like, great. And this is an interesting turn of events here. I'm going to go for 1,000 Arrows, be like, oh good, I'm going to get rid of the Magneton. Nope, he's going to live on 1 HP. He's going to go for the Analytic Boosted HP Ice, and he's going to knock me out. And I'm just going to talk about that turn there real quick. So, I did some calcs after the game. Zygarde's 1,000 Arrows had a 70% chance to knock him out. He had 200 HP investment with the Eviolite, and I was uninvested on my 1,000 Arrows. I had a 70% chance to knock him out with 1,000 Arrows, and I didn't get it. He lived on 1. Then, I had about a 70% chance to live that Analytic HP Ice, because I had 192 special defense investment, I had like 64 HP, I had a very good chance on living that HP Ice, but that also did not go my way. So, unfortunately, due to 2 rolls that did not go my way despite being in my favor, we are now down our Zygarde, and this Magneton now is looking pretty scary, because even though it's on such low HP, I don't have the best of ways to deal, well, not that I don't have good ways to deal with it, but if I had gotten rid of this, my Mantine would have been in an amazing spot, as it would have been able to beat basically the entirety of his team. So that really sucks for me. However, there's nothing I can do about it. What I can do about it, however, is go into Buzzwole, hope that he sacks this off. However, he's going to make the much smarter play and instead go into his Serena in order to sack that off instead. Like I said, very smart play, because he knows that he needs his Magneton in order to deal with my Mantine, otherwise he straight up loses this game. So, he's going to go for, he's going to sack this thing off to 2 Superpowers. I also made sure that I had enough Superpowers to clean up the rest of the game in case I had to spam Superpower to win, and I do, which is very nice. So Serena's going to fall. That's cool. I'm going to get my Beast Boost, going to get back to -1 instead of -2. And then he is going to send out his Kyurem. And I cannot knock this out due to the attack drop if he is not Chople Berry. So what I'm going to do is go out into my counter being Mantine, which, when I say counter, I genuinely mean counter. He's also going to reveal in Power Flying. Good prep on his part to Oko the Buzzwole. That's going to do absolutely nothing to my Mantine. And then as you're going to see here, I'm going to click Scald to get some chip damage off of this thing, also to possibly burn him as well in case he freezes me. That Ice Beam does absolutely nothing. As you're going to see here, I'm going to go for Scald. Not going to get the burn. Not that big a deal as much as I would like it, because there's always the chance to get it on the next turn, and I can afford to click Scald here once again. He's not going to be able to knock me out with 2 more Ice Beams, so I can go for the Scald. In case he freezes me, like I said, it'll fall me immediately. Going to go for the Scald. Not going to get the burn again, so 70% chance is going great for him. Not so great for me. But we have to deal with the situation we're in. At this point, he's going to make a very smart play, but I kind of see it coming, and I also kind of get lucky here. I'm going to go for the Toxic, trying to whittle down his Kyurem, because I'd figure at this point he doesn't have sub, or else he would have gone for it already. He tried to... I'm just going to pause it real quick. Where's the pause button? There it is. He tried to sack off his Crocodile so that he could get a free switch out into his Magneton and force me to sack a Pokemon, which would have been a very good play on his part. However, because I go for the Toxic here instead, he is going to... It's going to allow me to save my Mantine and be able to deal with him a little bit later. So, again, I was kind of lucky going for Toxic there, because I was mostly just trying to whittle down the Kyurem, because I'm thinking at this point he probably is Chople Berry, because I know he's not Scarfed at this point, so the only really thing he would possibly have for Buzzwole, it would be a Chople Berry Kyurem. And I don't think he would be negligent enough to not do anything for Buzzwole, especially with how weak his team was to it, or at least how weak his team looked to it. So I don't think he's going to do that here. Crocodile's going to take a little bit of poison damage. I can live a knockoff, and I know this. I can't live a Stone Edge, but I don't know if he has it or not. I'm going to live the knockoff, and then I'm just going to go for the Roost, getting myself up to a decent amount of HP, about the same amount of HP before he knocked me off. And he's going to take a little bit of poison damage. I didn't want him to go down to the poison on this turn, so I actually decide to go out into my Greninja in order to take the knockoff. I'm okay with losing my Life Orb at this point, and I know I can take it, but he's going to pull out the Z move, and I'm like, did he just go for a Z, what's it called, Z all-out pummeling fighting move? Because that's going to kill me. No, he has Z bulk up, which I was very scared about at first because I didn't know what it would do. And then he's just gonna die to poison. So it was just kind of funny. That was a very funny turn for me, especially doing it live, because I have this game sped up a little bit, but I sat through like a 20 to 30 second animation of him doing the Z bulk up thing, only for him to then die to poison at the end of the turn. So that was just kind of funny to me. If you don't know, I believe Z bulk up gives you +2 attack and +1 defense, so it's kind of like Swords Dance plus bulk up in there, which is pretty cool. But like you saw there, it ended up being useless, so I get to keep my life orb on Greninja, which is kind of nice. And he's going to send in Cobalion, and I was kind of confused because I can just click Dark Pulse and kill this thing, except for the part where I'm an idiot and he's going to outspeed me and kill me. If you guys saw my team builder, I didn't mention it in my team builder, but because I like completely missed it, but Cobalion outsped my Greninja spread. I had Modest, and then like I hit 329 at level 100 or whatever. This Cobalion outsped me because I'm stupid, and like, for some reason, I thought it wasn't as fast as it was, even though I know that Cobalion's 108 speed. Like, I've used it in the past, I've played against it plenty of times, I've lost to it plenty of times. I should have known that it was base 108, and I did know that it was base 108, it just slipped my mind, and I was like, oh goody, I can run Modest and this much speed, and then I can have that much attack, but that was just really, really, really stupid, and I'm still, like, I'm looking at it, and I was like, how was I that stupid? How could I have made a mistake like that? Because that's a really, really dumb mistake, and that's a very serious mistake in this game, because that could seriously cost me the game. If I had... Because the way I would win this game is I would kill this Cobalion, I would Dark Pulse the Kyurem, and then even if he's Chapel Berry, I just spam Superpower anyway, because it's going to kill after I hit him with a Life Orb Dark Pulse. But because of this serious mistake on my part, this was not a Jenning mistake, this was seriously just me being stupid. Because of this mistake, I could genuinely lose this game, and you're going to see how that ends up playing out toward the end of this game. So, Greninja's going to go down. I'm now going to go out into my Buzzwole. I get a kill here, which is cool. He can't switch anything into this, so I'm going to click Superpower. Again, just be able to knock out the Cobalion. And now, he is going to go out, after obviously the Cobalion faints, he is going to go out, though, going to get the Beast Boost too, so it brings him back to neutral attack. He is going to go out into his Kyurem. And this is a 50-50 right here, and I'm going to explain why. I am like super positive that he's Chapel Berry, because there's no way he would let himself be that weak to Buzzwole, like I mentioned earlier. If I go out into my Mantine as this thing clicks HP Flying or Ice Beam or anything, then I can basically just spam Scald until something good happens, or I can even click Toxic if I wanted to necessarily. However, if he pulls a double into Magneton as I go Mantine, then he's able to win the game 100%. Because then I don't have to switch into it. I'm pretty sure Buzzwole dies to an Analytic Thunderbolt if I were to try and switch it back in, and obviously Mantine dies to Thunderbolt because it's 4 times effective. If I stay in and click Superpower as he sacks off his Magneton, then I'll be able to hit the Kyurem and... or I'll be able to knock out his Magneton, get rid of the only thing that can deal with my Mantine at this point. Like, Mantine beats Kyurem, assuming he doesn't freeze me at the right situation, or at the right spot. Mantine beats Kyurem 1v1, so we're going to see how this works out. I'm going to click Superpower as he does pull the double, expecting me to pull the switch out into Mantine. And I just want to clarify, that was absolutely not a bad play on his part. There was a 50% chance that I was going to do that, there was a 50% chance that I was going to stay in Superpower, and he happened to make that call wrong, and that's no fault of his own. That's, again, no fault of his own. That was a 50-50. There's nothing else I can say about that. And then he's going to go into Kyurem. I was thinking maybe he wasn't Chapel Berry, and maybe he just... maybe he was messing with me, but no, he is Chapel Berry. As you're going to see here, he is going to live the Superpower, and then he's going to be able to hit me with the Hidden Power Flying on the following turn. So, there's the Hidden Power Flying. Very good prep on his part, like I mentioned earlier. Going to be able to knock me out easily, but... Also, I love Buzzwole's death animation. He literally just flexes up above his head before dying. But, like I said, as long as I don't get frozen on this turn, or a turn in the future where I don't click Scald, I will be able to stall out this Kyurem 1v1 easily. So he's going to reveal the Roost, as I also reveal the Roost here, or go for the Roost here. And basically, I can afford to click Scald a couple times, make sure I don't get frozen. Although, on this turn, I believe I click Toxic. Yeah, I click Toxic because that's going to be able to actually win me the game, whereas Scald would allow him to Roost stall me. But, if I do get frozen in this process in a bad spot where I don't click Scald, like I click Recover, or I click Roost instead of Scald, I would be in a bad spot. However, I'm going to click Roost here, and as you can see, I'm not going to get frozen, and assuming I don't get frozen, like I said, within like the next couple turns, and that I don't click Scald, then we are going to be able to stall this Kirim out 1v1. So, a couple things that I'm going to talk about while this plays out. Spoiler alert, I win this exchange, he doesn't get the freeze at the right time, and we're going to be able to win, and eventually I just keep clicking Scald and end up winning the game. I made some key mistakes during this game that I definitely need to make sure I don't do in the future. For one, I should have clicked T-Wave against the Cobalion earlier on. That would have allowed me to possibly paraflinch him a little bit, and possibly put him in range of HP ground so that I would have been able to keep my Jirachi around. Also, the play where I kept my Jirachi in versus his Buzzwole, or I kept my Jirachi in versus his Cobalion, I don't know if I'd call that necessarily a misplay, because like I said, if he made a very aggressive play and went for Aerial Ace, my Buzzwole would have either gone down or taken a lot of damage that I did not want it to take, and looking back, there was a very low chance that he actually would have made that play, so I probably should have just gone out into my Buzzwole, but I think you guys can understand my reasoning behind that. Like, if he did make that very good play, I would have lost the thing that won me the game 100%. The big mistake that I made during this did not happen in the game, it happened during prep, where I just completely blanked on the speed tiers, and that's something, for somebody who has played as long as I have, for somebody who's prepped for so many different League games, that's absolutely unacceptable. I should not be doing that ever, and I'm very, very, very lucky that it didn't end up costing me this game, because it absolutely could have. It definitely cost me a differential point, possibly 2 differential points, but it absolutely cost me a differential point, which can definitely come into play later in the season. If you guys remember, last season, I think Dan beat me by like 2 differential points getting into the playoffs, so every differential point matters. And here he's just going to click Iron Head at the end just to kind of be funny about it, which I thought was funny. But regardless, that is going to be the game. Definitely, like I mentioned earlier, the couple mistakes that I made were bad, like really bad. Like, I have no excuse for how bad. I mean, the plays that I made during the game, the not switching to Buzzwole, that's kind of acceptable, because even though there was a very low chance that he would click Aerial Ace, if he did click Aerial Ace and I lost my Buzzwole, that was seriously, seriously bad for my team. Like, I genuinely needed my Buzzwole to win that game, but again, it was such a low chance to happen that I probably should have just made the play anyway. And then not clicking Thunder Wave on the Cobalion with my Jirachi, also probably a mistake, but not too huge in the grand scheme of things. Like I said, the biggest mistake that I made during this game, 100%, was during prep, when I completely blanked on Greninja's speed tier versus Cobalion. Like, that's just an unacceptable thing to do. Like, I have played this game long enough to the point where I should know exactly how much speed I need versus his team, and for some reason I looked at Cobalion and I still kept my Greninja speed the same, and it ended up outspeeding. His spread on his Cobalion actually made it so he outsped me by 1 point, but again, I should make sure that I outspeed it always, unless he has Choice Scarf or unless he has a Rock Polish up, which he didn't have either. Like, that mistake with Greninja seriously could have, and in some ways should have, lost me this game. Like, there's absolutely nothing I can say to excuse it. Like, it wasn't a genning error. It wasn't like the person who genned me my Greninja, like, didn't give me EVs and speed. I put that EV distribution into the thing, sent it to him, got it back, looked at it, was like, yeah, that's fine, and then played this game. When, in reality, I should have seen, like, oh, I screwed up the speed tier, I need more speed for the Cobalion. That was just really not smart on my part at all. And it ended up costing me a differential point, because I would have been able to save one of my Pokemon at the end, and it would have been a 2-0 win instead of a 1-0 win. But that can be crucial. Like, if you guys remember from last season, Dan only beat me for the playoffs by like 2 or 3 points. So every single differential point matters in this, and not only does every single differential point matters, but that could have cost me the game. If he won that 50-50, he would have ended up winning that game. And I can't tell you how many times people have won 50-50s against me because people have been given opportunities to win because I made a mistake. But this is just not just necessarily a mistake, this is a complete oversight, and I have no idea how I missed it. And I'm going to make sure every game from now on I don't miss it, because even though I did end up winning this game, I very well could have lost. So that's kind of just what I want to end this video on. However, despite me like saying how like bad I am this game, don't take anything away from Crimson. Crimson did not have very good seasons in the GBA for the ones he participated in, but if he keeps playing how he just played against me and how he prepped against me against other people, I actually feel like he has some possibility for success this season. Like, I cannot really say a moment in this game where he made a misplay. Like, I think the only thing that I would maybe question is sacking off his Tornadus when he kind of needed it for Buzzwole, but also, like, at that point it was paralyzed, my whole team outsped it, he didn't have a switch into Greninja, like, he had to sack something and he chose Tornadus, and, like, I'd say that's kind of a misplay, but also when you look at how the rest of the team played against my team, every single mon on his team was important. Crocodile was very important, Magneton ended up being huge, Serena was very big, being able to switch into superpowers continuously, Kieran was obviously gigantic, and Cobalion was a very big threat to my team, so I can't even call that a misplay, because it very well may have been the best thing he could have done at that time. And even though he did get the 2 rolls that were in my favor going his way, that's Pokemon. Like, he can't control that, I can't control that. Regardless, he put himself in a position against me to the point where he had a very legitimate chance to win, and unfortunately that didn't go his way. And it ended up going my way just because, like I said, that's Pokemon. Sometimes you get the coin clip. Sometimes you get the coin flip, sometimes you don't. But again, Crimson played really, really well, and I really hope that he keeps up this level of play for the rest of the season, because I would absolutely love to see him get some success in the GBA, because I think he's earned it. He's a great guy. So with that being said, thank you guys very much for watching. Again, to everyone watching, including the analysts, because I know you're going to point this out, I'm sorry that I'm stupid and the Greninja was the wrong speed tier. I will make sure I fix that for the next game. I will make sure that does not happen for the rest of the season. If a mon outspeeds me, like, if we're similar speed tiers and, like, my opponent happened to, like, speed creep me a little bit more, then good on them. But I will make sure that when there is absolutely no reason for me to not outspeed a thing, I will make sure I outspeed that thing with my thing. So that's what I want to end this video on. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next game.